comes out. Are we live? Are we live, guys? I can't tell. Y'all want a little music? Usually I put music in the intro. Let's see, why not? Put a little music. I got my cocoa powder. That's what I'm on today. Banana, cocoa, flaxseed, bananas, cocoa, guys. That's what I'm on today. Shout out to Sammy making my cocoa butter. Got my candle. All right, guys. I'm going to cut that intro short. I'm back. Part 2, episode 2 of the Diddy, The Reckoning of Diddy, Netflix by 50 Cent. Guys, something's wrong with my YouTube. There's a little delay when I upload. It takes like 24 hours. So you guys just going to have to wait. Whenever it'll load, and then I'll repost it on the rest of my social media. So, of course, I had to take my little notes because we covered a lot in episode 1. I probably went from episode 1 and a little bit into episode 2. But I watched the whole 4 hours yesterday, and I'm just trying to dissect everything off the top of my head the best I can. So part 1 that we did earlier, if you just go back in my thread, you'll see it. It talks about his childhood, how he was lied to about his father, how he grew up with his mom, and she was working in the after hours spots. She beat him. He was always in fancy jewelry and furs. Then I talked a little bit what happened at Mount St. Michael, which wasn't in the documentary, but because I'm from the Bronx, I brought that up, that some of the pastors were sexually assaulting the boys at Mount St. Michael at the same time that Sean Cubs was at school. Then he went to Howard. He had some other civil suits while he was there for SA. Then we get into he went with Andre Harrell. Then we get into City College. Andre Harrell wanted to kick him out, or he fired him. He let him take Biggie, but he had to have the money to finish producing Big's album. He got advance from Clive Davis for $10 million. He took 75% of that money in that stocks, put it in his mother's name because he did not want to pay none of the 9 kids that were stampede at City College. I talked about that. I was there. I talked about my personal experience. I talked about that one of the victims went to my high school, Harry S. Truman in the Bronx. I talked about Haitian Jack. I talked about his relationship with Tupac. We talked about King Tut, who had the Bang Bang at Quad Studio, about Little C's, about Biggie, about Jimmy Henchman doing life in jail right now for hit for hire and money laundering with Bad Boys artists. I got into all of that. Go back on my episode 1. You could get all caught up. Then, of course, Tupac gets unalived at the Mike Tyson fight. I got into the Keefe D trial that's coming up in February, and one of the witnesses who they may call to testify is Foxy Brown, rapper Foxy Brown. Will she testify? Will she not? What did she see? What she didn't see? Supposedly she was friends with Zip from, I think he's from Harlem, but then he joined the Crips, so it's a lot. This is all, listen, the whole Tupac case, solving the Tupac case or whatever, has to do right now on Las Vegas. It's all about Las Vegas. If Las Vegas says we're going to get involved, it'll move forward. If Las Vegas may say, hey, this is a strip for entertainment, we're here to make money, we're not going to get involved with any high profile criminal activity, they're going to wash their hands, and that's going to be that. It's very interested if you look up his brother, Tupac Shakur's brother, some of the interviews he says, and what does he think about Orlando Anderson, and if he was a trigger man, and who else was involved, and was his brother being investigated by the feds, and all of that was interesting. So I left off, see, I have my notes right here. I left off with Biggie. Biggie didn't want to go on enemy turf. He didn't have clothes. He didn't have shoes. He was supposed to go to London. I believe it was Kurt Burrows was saying they had a promo tour or something, a speaking engagement in London that was there for months and he didn't want to go. And that's where I left off. That was in the documentary. So 50 Cent is on tour now. He's doing a. I think they licensed 50 Cent. I think the doc came out with Netflix with the co-producer, I forgot her name, and I think they licensed 50 Cent's name on it to get for marketing, which is actually genius because everything he touches on stars turns to gold, right? Power, BMF, Power Book, everything he does is like unstoppable. So they used 50's name to market. He said something. So he's on a tour right now. He's on NBC. He's on Good Morning America. He's on NBC, like ABC, every prime news media. And he's going around and he's saying that had he not spoke out, that hip hop is under attack, and had he not spoke out, that everybody else in hip hop would have been complicit. How do you guys feel about that? What do you guys think? Because when Harvey Weinstein, he had his, you know, alleged situation or conviction or whatever, essay, everyone would say, oh, Hollywood is being under attack. I mean, between what, African Bambaataa, Hussein Campbell, um, whoever else is out there, do they need to clean up the narrative? Yes, I agree with 50 Cent. Listen, I agree with 50 Cent. I think more people need to vocally come out and speak up, but they don't want to go against the machine because the machine is how you get tours, how you get dates, how you get brand. You don't want to come off problematic. You may be what they call blackballed. So 50 was like, more people in hip hop need to come out and speak against the machine. Because if you don't speak up against the machine, it's going to seem like things that happen to Cassie or normal or that they, it's accepted. I actually agree with 50 Cent's statement. I agree, not so much that hip hop is under assault, but I agree that if silence shows complicit. And a lot of people have been quiet. The whole hip hop industry, or basically 99% of the music industry, was at his parties, right? Well, who was speaking up saying that this was bad, this was not good, he shouldn't beat her, she stayed, maybe she needed help. Um, Nobody was really saying too much, right? Let's see. Here goes some of the pictures of the all white party. So these some of the people that would have should have spoke up um, in favor of Cassie. But it was interesting that one of the jurors was saying that one of the jurors, he was a male juror. He didn't sound American. He sounded foreign. I don't know if he was Indian. He sounded Indian. I'm not sure, but he was saying, "Look, you cannot move your back when the views can hear you clearly." Okay. Oh, back one. Okay. So they were saying that you cannot take have the bad and then take the good. He was like, if it's bad, just leave. You can't just, well, I'm getting diamonds and I'm getting cars and he's paying my rent and I'm going on shopping sprees for $500,000 or whatever. So I'm gonna just take a little bit of the bad to make up for the good. So the juror was like, that's why they found it not guilty on SA because they were saying that you can't do that. If it's bad, you should have just left. But maybe she was really in fear for her life. We don't know. Maybe he threatened, look, if you go, I have a weapon. I'm going to do something with you. I know where your mother lives. I'm going to release your videos and things like that. So there's a lot of people at these parties. Busta Rhymes, Russell Simmons, was that Little Kim, um, the whole Russell Simmons family, Andre Harrell, rest in peace. There's a lot of people here, and a lot of them were quiet. So does that make the music business look bad? Okay. So I just wanted to make a statement on what 50 was saying. What do you guys really think the 50 Cent and the Diddy beef is really all about? 50 just don't like him for no reason? Or because of his son's mother? Because he took him wanted to take him shopping? Because he wanted to take him shopping? That's a big thing. Like, he hit. I mean, you get hit on. You get hit on, be flattered, thank you, no thank you, and keep going. But it's something definitely, maybe 50's trying to take his space. If you want to be the king on the throne, what do? You knock down the king so that you can move in, right? I thought it was interesting in the Diddy doc. Diddy kept saying, like, he was like, this is brokenness. What did he say? What do you call it? Brokenness culture. I can't take this brokenessness. So he's trying to say that everyone around him is broke, so that everyone started to sue him because they wanted money. Because in his eyes, his version of the story, because I think he thought, his ego, he thought he gonna film a reality TV show and sell it to make money, not thinking that he was gonna be sentenced, not thinking that Netflix was gonna use it against him and get Diddy to get the 50 Cent to promote it. That's crazy. So now Diddy's all upset, like cease and desist, cease and desist, take it down, take it down. He's mad, but he said everyone is broke and everyone's coming after him for his money. That he's done nothing wrong. Again, no accountability. That he's done nothing wrong. And everybody's trying to get his money. What do you guys think about 50 Cent baby mother? As she testified during the trial that Diddy assaulted her, leading up to the federal investigation. I think that's why the judge didn't let. That's why the judge denied his bail 5 times. That's why he denied his bail 5 times. I want to get to the root of what is really their issue, because it's definitely clearly this is beyond trolling. This is beyond trolling. So 50 Cent's first baby mother's house went on fire. She tried to say 50 Cent burned it down. It was a $2.54 million estate. He sued her for defamation, and I believe he won. And he goes, no, she's the one who set the house on fire, because she was like, well, if I can't have the house, you can't have it either. More drama. More drama. So back to the documentary. So you had one thing that stood out with me with episode 1. I'm gonna go back real quick. There was one SA victim who was in a video that was recorded, and it was shown to the public. And her mother wrote a letter to Diddy's mother. This is in the documentary. I'm not gonna read the letter. I'm not. I'm not gonna. But it was like, it was more like mother to mother. Like, I cannot believe my daughter was sleeping and had a nightmare, told me about this nightmare. I can't believe the events that she recalled, that she was, dreaming. And I was asking, who's this Puffy? And she was just letting the mother know, like, she wasn't asking for money. She wasn't pressing charges. She was just like, are you aware? It was almost like a warning, like, are you aware in 1990, whatever, your son is out here rugging people, essaying people, and recording it and putting it out for people to watch. It was just like, and I thought that letter, she found that letter. What she ever did with the letter, I don't know. But she found the letter that her mother had wrote. She completely was traumatized. I think Cassie's lawsuit gave her an opportunity to have her voice out. So that was in episode one. I kind of overlooked that part. So then we get to episode two. Like I said, this thing was 4 hours. They start. Oh, I thought this was interesting. I thought this was really, really interesting. So Kurt Burrows, let me pull him up. Hold on one second. I thought if I had to say who, in my opinion, after listening to the trial, oh, here we go. Okay, let me pull this up, guys. I found this was interesting. Hold up. I'm gonna turn. There's some background noise. Let me turn off the AC real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry guys. I always forget to turn off the noise in the background. Okay, so Kurt, okay, the biggest takeaway for me, um, of course, the tragedies what happened with City College, tragedy what happened to Big, tragedy that happened to Tupac, Diddy making Biggie's estate pay for his own funeral. Making a man who's deceased, a rapper who was beloved, who was young, who was a father, who was up and coming, who you claim to be your best friend, taking his money and making him pay for his own funeral was just diabolical. Okay. But I think Kurt Burrows' testimony, to me, his speaking was the most, because he was the day one. He was partnership. He had stocks and he wound up homeless. He wound up homeless and in a shelter. And the amount of grace that he spoke with really I felt his testimony was very authentic and it really resonated with me. So here he goes on the screen, Kurt Burrows. So there's something he said. So he's talking about how Big didn't want to go to. No, he's talking about everything from day one. How they met, how they started the company, how they shopped the deal with Clive. They got the $10 million. Diddy put the $10 million in his mother's name. Well, 75% of it, of the stocks in his mother's name, so that he wouldn't have to pay any of the victims at City College, right? So now, the night of the Mike Tyson fight, he starts to talk about he had a pen and paper. He wrote down everything. He was in charge of, like, managing the money, like the petty cash, money coming in, money coming out. I think Diddy was handling, like, the contracts for Arista, and I think Kurt Burrows was doing, like, the day-to-day dollars. So he says here, from August 16th to September 12th, 1996, Tupac was shot. The Mike Tyson fight. Hold on, let me tell you what they. Okay, so Tupac was shot September 7th. Tupac was shot September 7th, the night of the Mike Tyson fight. What Burroughs was saying, Diddy hired a whole bunch of goons, guys, bodyguards from Harlem, and they rented a bunch of cars. I don't know how many. And they drove from New York to Vegas. And they stayed there for 4 weeks. 1 month. Well, they had the car. I don't know where they went. They had the cars for a month. They rented the cars from Hertz. They rented them August 16th and returned them September 12th. 5 days after Tupac was shot. And they drove. Why would you take the cars and drove cross country with all this security? So maybe they were making stops along the way. They didn't really know, but the balance was $2,798. So he put that up in the documentary because a lot of this is trying to connect the dots. So I thought this was interesting. This is something new. This was something I never heard before. They talk about Suge Knight's friend Jake, who was murdered, right? Let's see, what date was that? Let me stop sharing that. There's a documentary about that on YouTube. You could look it up. So, so a year earlier, before Tupac got shot in Vegas, a year earlier, Suge Knight's friend was unalive, bang bang 5 times by one of Diddy's bodyguard slash entourage. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to get it wrong. You can look it up on YouTube. So now in Suge Knight's mind, he's like, Diddy's people killed my best friend, and that's when he took him in the yoke and was like, "Oh well, your mother better watch her back, and your kids better watch her back." This is a year before Tupac got shot in Vegas. So now let's see, when was the Source Awards? I mean, the Source Awards was in New York, and they were booing. That was in August. So that was before. Oh, okay. So the Source Awards was first in August of 95. And then in September, one of Suge Knight's friends gets unalive by Diddy's people. I don't know if it's because of the verbiage that was said during the Source Awards. I don't know if it was because of Misa. They said, did Misa, it's always about a woman, right? I talked about the last episode with Haitian Jack and Tupac with Madonna. What was going on there? What was the jealousy? They robbed him for his jewelry. They want to give it back to Jacob the jeweler, who eventually went to prison for money laundering or scamming. Guys, go back to my part 1. I'm on part 2. If I have time later, I'll do part 3, but I'm on part 2 right now. So there's a lot of friction. So there's really no issue between Biggie and Tupac. It's really between Suge Knight and Diddy, right? Suge disrespects him at the Source Awards. Suge's friend passed. Then he's like, I'm going to come and get your mother and your kids. And now I remember seeing another documentary, I don't remember where, that Diddy was scared for his mother. And then he started to hire the Fruit of Islam, the FOIs. I don't know if that's going to be Brother Fahim Muhammad. I don't know. Brother Fahim Muhammad is a whole nother story. They were talking about him in episode 4, the last episode with Little Rodney Drug. Brother Fahim Muhammad, you look at him, he used to do security, I think, for Michael Jackson, and he also bought his kids like 40 acres of land. So you got to think, what is this guy into? He's in with the LAPD. I don't know if he's a crooked cop or what, allegedly. So Diddy was like, I need the Crips to protect me when I go to California. If there's bad blood, Diddy, Biggie don't want to go to California. He's supposed to go to London. Why are you pushing him? He gets bang bang on the live. You rob him his estate to pay for his funeral, and then you want to cut the contract up to lie to the mother, to steal his mother, to rob his mother. And that's when Kurt Burrows was like, "I'm not doing this anymore." He gets fired. He gets fired. He's broke. He stole the stocks. He winds up homeless. I thought he had good testimony right here. This guy right here, Kurt Burrows. Let me share a screen. I'm a little confused. I mean, I wouldn't go read the documentary again, but some people were saying they was in a relationship. They were not in a relationship, Kurt Burrows and Sean Combs. Then for the first time he said there he was essayed. I don't know. That was sounds a little it was a lot going on. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Then they get into, you know, I don't want Biggie. Biggie's supposed to be on the cover of Vibe magazine. I don't want Biggie on the cover of Vibe magazine. It's got to be me. It's all about my album. It's all about my music. It's all about I want to be on the cover of the magazine because I got to put all the money into me because the locks. I think Mary J. Blige, 112, Mace, Junior Mafia, Biggie, all his artists left him because he was robbing everyone. It was a shell scheme. So he goes, he just explained it really good. Kurt Burrows says it's a shell scheme where we just give you advance and then we don't pay you any more money. And if you want money, you got to go on tour. And then he would just take all the likeness, the brand, the imaging, the royalties. You work in the studio, you pay him for the studio. And he would also, if he writes, if he was in your video, he would also get a percentage. So then he goes, okay, I'm gonna go do making the band. And then there's a little bit of Kim Porter, not much. Kim, he got with Misha. They had the baby. Kurt Burrows was the godfather of Misha's son, Justin. He said he was a witness of him beating up Misha on several occasions, and then he starts to paint the picture, the dynamic of what's called a family cult. He starts to paint that picture of the family cult. Let me see. He talked about was his Bad Boys a cult? Was he complicit? No. Kurt Burrows wanted to say when he witnessed Diddy beating up Justin's mother, Misa, was he complicit to witnessing the cult of Bad Boys? And was he a disciple? That was the word he used. He said, was he a disciple? And I think he takes some kind of ownership or guilt because all of this is before Cassie, right? What's leading up to Cassie? He allegedly he beat up Kim or he broke her nose and he beat up Misa and he said he witnessed that he beat up his mother. Right? I said this man is a roach. I need some roach spray over here because this guy is a roach. If I ever saw him, I would go just get the roach spray and spray him. Because how diabolical you got to be to beat up your own mother. So let me read this. A cult family is a group that acts as both a cult and a family. Duh, that makes sense. Okay. Where the organization is either made up of one family or its doctrine heavily controls and defines the family structures of its members. These groups have unique dynamics where the cult leader authority is prioritized over the members' traditional family ties, often creating a complex relationship and conflicts between loyalty to the group and loyalty to one's family. Leadership. The group is often led by an authoritarian, Diddy, charismatic leader who demands absolute loyalty and may present themselves as the sole source of truth or validation, control over the family. The cult rules and ideology often dictate family structure, roles in the relationship, sometimes even interfering with and replacing the traditional family unit. Members may not be forced to choose between loyalty to the cult and their biological family, which can lead to isolation from outsiders and a high degree of control other than their personal lives. Us versus them mentality. There's often an emphasis on us, the group, versus them, the outside world, which can be seen as evil or dangerous, further isolating members from their previous lives and relationships. You know who this sounds like too. When I think of I don't really study. I listen. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I don't really study family cults. But it also reminds me of. It made me think about Prince Harry. Prince Harry, how he was just like, I gotta run. I gotta get out of this. Um, the racism. I don't have my mother. I have to do what they say. Um, the father, the control of the father. What is my role? I'm the sphere. I actually read his book. I never did a lot. I do book reviews on here too. I never did a review of his book, but I actually read it. It was an interesting life. So a family cult. That's something you could study on your own family because yes, I see. So Kurt Burrows spoke about Bad Boy being a cult, but I definitely see the family dynamic because they get into there's a lot of lawsuits that include civil lawsuits that include two of his sons. Christian was supposedly essayed a worker on a boat, and Justin, I heard a lot. They talk about this is in episode 4. They talk about booby trap. So I heard a lot of time like when the players allegedly, when the players or anyone would come through Miami and they want to go to after party or something, and his son would put on the hat that would say, bad boy, and go to booby trap and get the girls and bring the girls back to the house or whatever. So he was kind of working for his father, running for his father. And I think some of the testimonies in court, I think one of the male entertainers, I don't remember which one, on one of the podcasts, I can't remember, alleged that Quincy came once to the hotel and paid him cash. So it's interesting. Sometimes you could be married to someone. You ever watch The Sopranos? Think about The Sopranos for instance. Sometimes like on The Sopranos, what was his name? Who was the lead guy in The Sopranos? Oh my God, I have a brain fog. What was his name? Ugh. Guys, what was his name from The Sopranos? And I watched that. I was such a Sopranos fan. What was the cast? Oh my God. Sopranos cast. I don't remember. But anyway, sometimes when the father, he's out there doing all his shady bang banging and bribing and beating up people and making people sometimes the wife doesn't know. The wife is like, I don't know anything. So that when he goes to jail, he just goes to jail and then he doesn't drag the family with him. Right. Whereas Diddy was like, there was no protection. Like, you got your boys. I guess it was like, he could have taught his kids the business. Like, here's the music business. Let me teach you how to do branding, marketing, clothes. Um, Diddy's a genius when it comes to marketing, wanting people to, he was Chris Lighty was good at that too. Chris Lighty be like, okay, this rapper and this cognac drink goes good together, or this rapper and this sneaker goes good together, or we'll take LL Cool J and chapstick and that, branding and marketing. I think he had an ear for mixing R&B and hip hop, and he knew how to market very well. So those were a lot of skills that he could have tried to teach his kids, or open up a business for them, or try to get them in production, engineering, management, A&R development, go find talent. Everything he did, he ruined, because he is such a energy vampire. He's an energy vampire. Every artist, even in making the band, everybody on that documentary was like in tears, crying. Capricorn Clark, she's his assistant. She's on the stand crying. Cassie, his woman, she's crying. The Chopper from making the band. Chopper's on Vlad TV talking about, I hate him. If I see him, what I would do to him, I get rid of him. He's just at the ego and the narcissist in him. In order to make him feel like a bigger, grander, more important, I'm more important to you, I have to belittle you. I have to put you down. I have to rob. I have to steal. I have to make you homeless. I have to beat you up. I have to rug you. I'm going to rug you, SAU, and then film it, and then shame you and put it out there for the world to see. I can't. And then and jealousy. He was very jealous of Tupac. He was very jealous. Jealousy is like one of the seven deadly sins. And he was also very jealous of his artists, because he couldn't sing. He couldn't, I mean, he could dance a little bit. I mean, he could dance, but I mean, he wasn't, he didn't really, I'll be sure, and everyone was saying he really didn't have any. He couldn't rap, he couldn't dance. He was like envious of the artists that had the pizzazz, and that's what he wanted. He wanted to be an artist, and then eventually he did, become an artist, and he finally got all that attention. But he's just he's a narcissist, and he's an energy vampire, and he needs to put other people down just to make him feel good about himself. This whole rumor in prison, Thanksgiving, he gave out 100 turkeys to feed all the people in prison. It's a lie. The person was like, "That's a lie. What are you talking about?" All these shenanigans, and there's no accountability. There's no negligence accountability. You are negligent for putting Biggie in an environment that got him unalive. You are negligent. You are negligent for selling 5,000 tickets in a space that only could hold 2,000 people, when you promised that that was going to go for HIV and AIDS. And even the HIV, the AIDS Foundation said he never gave us a penny. Greed and selfishness. And Lord only knows what you put Kim Porter through. Her friend Kimora, allegedly, I gotta keep saying allegedly on here, guys. Allegedly. I can't say it enough. Tell her, don't take that house. Don't take that house from him. She took that house because Kim knew he had cameras in every room, and he had tap on her phone. Her phone was tapped. So when he was out, that's the thing. He could cheat. He could go out there and cheat, but you can't cheat. And that's what, Capricorn Clark was saying in the documentary. He's out there doing his thing. That doesn't mean that you can't. So now you go start seeing Kid Cudi. That's when he kidnapped her, got the bang bang, and was trying to threaten. For some reason, when the juries came on to speak, two juries came on. I don't remember their names. It was an Indian man and a young black woman. And she seemed a little starstruck. I don't know. But the jurors did not believe Capricorn Clark. They didn't believe her. They did not believe her testimony. And I don't know if they were starstruck. I don't know why. I thought she was very vulnerable. She talked about how her mother was addicted to cocaine for like 5 years. And then when she turned 23, her mother um, died. And she had so much dysfunction and trauma growing up that it made it easy for her to work with someone like Diddy, or she understood him. Um, but for some reason, they just didn't like her. Well, it was an interesting part in the trial. They didn't get into this in the doc, but like she worked with Diddy for 10 years. She knew him very well. She was an assistant. She knew all his women. Me, I don't know if she was facilitating. She said she facilitated. She said it was a good wolf, bad wolf. She facilitated the good wolf, but like the new assistant KK facilitated the bad wolf. You know, with the ketamine and the 2C and the pink powder and da 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 da. The thing I didn't understand, Capricorn Clark. So she worked for him for 10 years. He threatened to unalive her because she was friends with Suge Knight's baby mother. They were enemies. Suge was threatening his mother, threatening his kids. You know, they had serious issues. So Capricorn gets fired. Or no, she gets blackballed. Let me say the right thing. She can't work any. There's only a few labels back then, right? There's only Def Jam, Bad Boy, I guess Master P, and like one other label. I don't remember. It was only like 4 or 5 big labels. And she was with Bad Boy, the assistant, for 10 years. So once you get blackballed, she'll just tell everyone, don't work for her. Don't work for her. So she said her son was autistic. That was the only business she knew. That was the only thing she knew. She didn't know how to do anything else. I don't know if she went to school or not. And that she begged for her job back. And she was good at what she did. And she went back and worked for him. So I think that hurt. I think with the jury, that hurt her credibility because once again, Cassie, if you're being abused, Capricorn, if you're being abused, if this is so bad and you leave and you get out, why go back? Why go back? So I think what 50 Cent was trying to do with the documentary is just stripped Diddy of all this glitz and glam and really look at all of the not only the bad behavior, but the lack of accountability, the lack of being held negligence for a lot of the deaths surrounding him. And then they get into a little bit where Kim Porter's like, I don't want to, we're going to split ways. We're going to go our separate ways. And then he starts dating J-Lo. And they didn't even mention Sarah. They talked about Misa. They talked about Kim. They never even talked about the other baby mother, the lawyer. I think she's down in Miami. Then they get into Dirty Money, but before Dirty Money, the making of the band, Aubrey. So he's with Kim. He has the kids. They didn't talk about Quincy too much. I'll Be Sure was on there. I'll Be Sure was just saying that he was there with Diddy from day one with Uptown Records. And they were like a family with Andre Harrell building everything with Mary J. Blige, Jodeci, and Heavy D and the Boys. And that Diddy was just an intern just trying to take Andre Harrell's job, and that didn't go too well. Now he was actually surprised when he found that Diddy was, and that's his motto. That was his motto. That I'm so insecure with me, I don't have anyone. I'm gonna take your girl. Misa was dating Eric Sherman. I like her. I'm gonna take her from you and show you that I'm the man. Okay, I'll Be Sure had Kim Porter. I'm gonna take her from you and show you that I'm more important than you. Not really wanting to marry anyone or not really trying to establish anything, just to play with them. And then when he's done, he's moved on. Then, he started dating J-Lo. And then we all know about Shine. This documentary is so much. It is so much. Was it? I guess the making of the band. When year was the making of the band? Let me see. Chop always talks about how he got robbed. They get into how the kids were all mad that they had to walk to go get the cheesecake. Remember that favorite episode? So the making of the band was what, 2001 to 2009. Oh, 8 years. It was on there for a while. Okay, so before the making of the band, because I'm trying to go in order, was when he started seeing J Lo. Kim Porter had the twins, and then Sarah had the other girl. So he had both of them pregnant at the same time. He had three daughters. Leaves not leaves both of them or whatever they're on the side or whatever. And he's with J Lo. They had the shootout in the club. Shine swears he was shooting in self defense because there was a guy named Scar from Brooklyn that he had an argument with, and Scar pulled out a pistol first, and Diddy and Shine pulled out a gun in self defense, a bang bang in self defense, right? But then the whole thing with Shine, he's now the opposition of the leader for the prime minister in Belize. But I think he's going to have a tour right now. I think he lost the election, but he may try again. But he's been doing a lot of what do you want to call them? A tour, speaking engagements, and he's just saying how Diddy only paid. Now that's his artist, and he was defending him in an altercation. But Diddy only paid for the lawyer for him and his bodyguard, Big Wolf, and left Shine with a public defender. And through a witness, paid a witness to say that they saw Shine use the bang bang, but not in self defense or whatever. So Shine wound up having to do 10 years. When he got out, he thought he was gonna see some money, maybe a couple million. And Diddy only gave him like $50,000, and he was like, "Are you kidding me? Like I sat in jail for 10 years, and you only give me 50,000." Then he was upset because he saw some interviews where he was taking Cassie shopping and spending like $500,000. But then Shine, went to Jerusalem and went on a religious journey and found himself and found forgiveness and came to terms with everything that happened because he felt that it was ordained. And who knows if he was still in the streets in Brooklyn, what would have happened to him. And then he came up and did a show at the BET Awards, I believe it was, with Diddy because he was trying to get more exposure to Belize. So they talked about that a little bit. And then they didn't have the lady who got hurt in the face, Tanya Rubin. They spoke about her, but she wasn't in the documentary. They spoke about J-Lo really quickly. J-Lo's the only person who's never made any comment through all of this. Not that she has to, but... So that was pretty much episode 2. That was episode 2. And then they get into the making of the band. I believe that was episode 3. Let me see. Let me check real quick. It's a lot, guys. It's 4 hours to remember everything. Try to see if I missed anything in episode 2. What goes down must ask. Puffy embraces celebrity lifestyle, feels dangerous with the Death Row Records. Linger, the shooting of Tupac. Okay, I talked about the shooting of Tupac. So episode 1, how a kid from New York transformed himself into a powerful hip hop mogul. Number 2, so what's his name? Stuff Curry? Was that the rapper on his label on Bad Boy? He was there talking about how he didn't really have any talent, and then he had to help write for him and give him talent. So then basically I'm gonna let me see if I could play a part. If I play a part from that, I'm always gonna get copyright strike though. Hold on. Stephen Curry. No, not Stephen Curry. Who is it? Murray. Steph Murray. Guys, I'm bad. I'm getting the names all. Steph Murray. Why am I getting this guy's name wrong? I'm having a brain freeze. Let me just look up the cast. Hold on. Let's look up the cast. Mark Curry. Oh my god, it was driving me crazy. Mark Curry. I'm thinking the basketball player, Steph Curry. Mark Curry. So Mark Curry, basically, he was an artist on Def Jam. But if you go on, is it not on Def Jam, on Bad Boy? If you go on I don't know if it was Drink Tramps or Vlad TV. One of these interviews, Mark Curry is on there. I'm not gonna play it because I'm gonna get a copyright strike. But he was just on there saying that he was always at the parties, and they would always have the VIP, and they would always have the champagne girls and the champagne bodies bottles with the liquor. And Diddy would tell him, "Drink, don't drink these, and drink those." And what was roofie and what was spiked and what wasn't. But he said too, sometimes they would put the rugs in the chaser. So the liquor, the champagne was fine, but the cranberry juice and the orange juice would have the chase in there. He said that. He never went to court to testify, but he said it. He never got into any money or essay or whatever. He's just saying that he was a witness. But back again to like I was saying about the family cult. These kids seem to answer up to him. Dress like this, talk like this, post this, go here, do this. It appeared before Kim Porter died, rest in peace. It appeared that her son Quincy was in Hollywood. He had just did a Christmas movie, holiday calendar. Was uber cute. He was on a red carpet premiere. Something happened. Diddy got into a fight with, was it Lee Daniels? I don't know if Lee Daniels was the producer. I'm not sure, but he got in a fight with him. Next thing you know, Quincy was not getting any more work. Same thing with Justin. Justin got into Harvard. Misa wanted him to go to Harvard, have a great career. Here comes Diddy. No, I want him in California by me. Send him to UCLA, put him on a football team. Maybe he could play, maybe he couldn't. I don't know. He was short. Maybe he wasn't that big. I don't know what happened. Next thing you know, Diddy's beating up the coach from UCLA. It's all in the newspaper. Look it up. You could Google it. It's in the newspaper. Diddy comes to the because he wasn't letting his son play or his son being a spoiled brat. Hey, the coach pulled me out the game. And the next, Diddy's fighting him. Never call the cops. Never get arrested. It just, I guess he paid off the coach, like he paid off Steven Stout. They talked about they. There's so much, guys. I have no notes. I have no notes. I'm just going off of memory. This is 4 hours, and I watched this yesterday. It's time with Steven Stout. They were talking about him when he did "You Can Hate Me Now" video, when he was hanging on the cross like Jesus Christ, and his pastor was like, "That's not a good look," because he also went to Catholic school, and they was like, "Take it down," and he told Steven Stout, "Take it down," and he didn't, and he went up there with his bodyguards and beat him up with a bottle. He broke up a champagne bottle on his head and stomped him out with a chair and everything. Nothing happened. It was a felony. He never went to prison. I think he just settled. He gave him what, 500,000, 500,000, threw the case out. From the family cult, these children answer up. Whenever they wanted to go out and do their own thing, Diddy, the narcissist in him, controlled them with money, controlled them with gifts. Even Lord Jamal talked about this, that Lord Jamal talked about how, you got Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that Diddy was brainwashing Quincy, with gifts, and I'll buy you this, I'll take you shopping, I'll give you toys, where the other Kim may have been, blocking Quincy from seeing his biological father. Co-parenting takes two. If you have step parents and you love this, if you have a step parent and this step parent loves you, they should love your child. And you need to include a blended family. Let the step kids come over, let the step parents visit, keep them up to date. I know it's not always like that, it's tension, but to be mature, sometimes you got to put your own ish aside and think about the best things for the Kim. I think it was in best duty for both Diddy and Kim Porter to allow Quincy to have his biological father in his life, if he wanted to. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to, and he has regrets. Maybe he did. Maybe he. I think they said. I think he did a biography that he was. I'll be sure was battling alcoholism, and we know alcoholism is a depression. I know he has other kids. I don't know if he takes care of his other kids. I don't know. So it's like the kids just. It could be a blessing that the father's gone now, because it's going to make them grow up and find their own identity, unless he's still controlling them from prison. Who knows? He may have them on an allowance, do here, do that, do that. But I'll tell you one thing. If I was one of his kids after that and those houses were raided, I wouldn't want to be doing nothing on my phone, nothing on email, nothing on social media. I'd have one of them phones, remember them old school flip phones that all it does is dial. It have no internet, no GPS. No, I wouldn't want no part of that. But he's probably most likely still controlling his kids from prison. That's why he had them doing, what was he doing? Selling calling cards and having his kids call the victims on three-way calling. Almost shenanigans. Oh my God. I'm going to take a break, guys. This is just episode 2. If you want to see episode 1, I'm going to come back later today. I'm going to come back later today with episode 3. If I can't come back, I'm going to come back later today with episode 3. But right now, because I got to jump off, because YouTube, for some reason, is not posting, the bandwidth is down. Or my bandwidth, maybe because I don't have a premium account. I don't know. So I got to post this and then come back. All right, guys, later. Leave a comment. Guys, leave a comment. Share, like, subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. I've been working hard for you guys today. All right, guys. Leave me a comment. I appreciate it. Let me know where y'all watching from. Where you at? California? New York? Europe?